What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, September 14th, 2023, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 2:44 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some more breaking news coming from the European theater and also from Asia. So I want to get right into it. If you missed my last update from this morning, my emergency alert, I recommend you go and watch it after you watch this video. But basically, Romania confirmed that another Russian drone crashed into Romania last night, and this drone crashed 10 miles into Romanian territory. Okay, it crashed 10 miles inside of Romania from the Ukrainian border. And these are the Iranian Shahed drones. They have the explosive material on them. They're basically suicide drones. So what they do is they fly these drones into an object that they want to destroy, and just the impact of the drone hitting something detonates the explosive. Okay, and they've been targeting the grain terminals along the Romanian-Ukrainian border along the Danube River. And lately, these drones have been crashing into Romania, and one of them last night crashed 10 miles into Romanian territory. And so the Romanian government is now building bomb shelters in parts of Romania that are close to Ukraine along the Danube River. And here's a picture of that. Okay, so very serious situation going on in Romania. And today we have a large number of nuclear warplanes and Doomsday planes in the air. And I have a contact that lives near Raven Rock. And if you don't know what Raven Rock is, you can look it up. Raven Rock is the alternate military command center for the U.S. military. In the event of a nuclear war, the top generals would all go to Raven Rock. It's a bunker, and they would command the U.S. nuclear arsenal from Raven Rock. It's in Pennsylvania. It's just over the border from Maryland. It's not terribly far from D.C. And I have a subscriber that lives nearby, and they reported seeing two Black Hawk helicopters flying to Raven Rock today. And the last time this person saw something like that was a very long time ago. Now, in addition to that, we have a lot of nuclear warplanes up in the air today. We have a presidential Doomsday plane, B-52 nuclear bomber, an E-6 Mercury nuclear war command and control plane, and a Constant Phoenix nuclear detection plane. Okay, all in the air today, this afternoon, at the same time as my subscriber told me that this person saw two Black Hawks flying towards Raven Rock. Okay, so very concerning stuff. And then we also have a large number of emergency action messages. We have over 20 emergency action messages today, which is a lot considering we still have a lot of hours left in the day. Usually around 30 per 24 hours is considered elevated, and we're at 20 today. Okay, so let me just show you guys some of these flight paths of these Doomsday planes. And also, another subscriber of mine in Texas sent me this video of B-1 bombers flying near Dice Air Force Base. Okay, these are B-1s. Okay, a B-1 is a strategic bomber. It is nuclear capable. They are not officially part of our nuclear triad, but they can be used for nuclear bombing. Okay, they can drop gravity bombs, or they can release air-launched cruise missiles. Now, back in the day, these B-1s were like designed to be the primary nuclear bomber of the Air Force. But what happened was they developed the AGM-86 air-launched cruise missile, and then they didn't need these anymore, because then they realized that they could just release these cruise missiles from halfway across the ocean from B-52s without ever having to get close to Russia and hit targets inside of Russia, and those B-52s would never even be, in enemy territory or close to enemy territory, so they wouldn't need a supersonic stealthy bomber like the B-1. But nevertheless, they still have the B-1s. They're going to retire them in a couple of years. I forget the exact year, but once they retire them, they're not going to maintain them or make new ones anymore. But these can be used for bombing. They're still in good shape. They can carry a lot of ordnance, and they're supersonic, and they are kind of stealthy. So Dice Air Base is one of our bomber bases. It's in northern Texas near Abilene, and it's a critical military base. But this was just 2 days ago. Okay, so guys, our military is on high alert. There's a lot of things going on with all these drones crashing in Romania, all these Doomsday planes here. And we also have some breaking news that all the Baltic countries have now banned entry of Russian cars into their countries. Okay, so any car with a Russian license plate will no longer be allowed to enter Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And that's going to cause some problems because there's a lot of Russians that still live in the Baltic countries. Okay, there's still some good numbers of Russian minorities in those countries. Okay, so now what's going to happen is the Russians that are in the Baltics, they're not going to be able to go in and out. They're not going to be able to leave to Russia and come back, or they're not going to be able to have their family come and visit. So, that could be a justification for Vladimir Putin to attack the Baltics, okay, because he could say that, they're persecuting the Russian minority and we have to protect Russians around the world. We know that that's one of Putin's big things is protecting Russians around the world, quote unquote, protecting, okay? I use that term very loosely. And so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And we have these flight paths here. So here we have those Doomsday planes. We have the B-52 in the air over the Dakotas now. And we have a presidential Doomsday plane over the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We have a Constant Phoenix plane that just took off from Offutt Air Base. And we also have a nuclear war command and control plane that just took off from Oklahoma City. Okay, so they're all up in the air at the same time. Okay, a Constant Phoenix is a nuke sniffer plane. It can detect radiation in the atmosphere. The presidential Doomsday plane is for the president to wage nuclear war in. During a nuclear war, he would go into that plane and he would command the U.S. military. And an E-6 is a nuclear war command and control plane. It can remotely launch all of our ground-based nuclear missiles, and it can also communicate with our nuclear-armed subs. And a B-52 is a strategic nuclear bomber. It can carry the air-launched cruise missiles, the AGM-86 air-launched cruise missiles, which have a 2,000-mile range, and they have a W-80 warhead, which is up to 150 kiloton blast yield for each one. We also had a bunch of refueling going on of these planes. So the presidential Doomsday plane got refueled, and also the B-52 got refueled. So it's interesting that they actually got refueled midair. Very strange. I don't know what's going on. I know a lot of you guys think that this is training. And yes, it could be training, but even the fact that they're doing so much training is concerning. Okay. It's like if you're preparing for some kind of competition, right? You're going to train a lot harder right before the competition. You're not going to take it easy, right? So, it's just like with war. Okay. If you know war's coming, you're going to train harder because you want to make sure everything's ready if something happens, right? So, yeah, it could be training, but the fact that they're training so much is concerning, okay? So that's why I share this with you guys, because it's concerning for them to have this much activity every single day. It's not normal. Here's a sub hunter plane that was patrolling the Chesapeake Bay near Washington, D.C. Very interesting. This is a P-8 Poseidon, and it can detect submarines underwater. And we had two aerial refuelers that were operating off the Jersey Shore earlier today in the morning, and they were up in the air at the same time as the presidential Doomsday plane. And what's interesting is there's no other plane in the air in this area at that time, so I don't know what they were refueling. Probably some plane that had its transponder off, because I couldn't see any other plane, just the aerial refuelers. So that's pretty interesting. And here's just a close up shot of the presidential Doomsday plane over the Upper Peninsula of Michigan getting aerially refueled. And then here's the B 52, and it got aerially refueled from a strato tanker that took off from the DC area, and it got aerially refueled over South Dakota. Very interesting. And we also had a ton of aerial refuelers in the North Sea last night and early this morning. We had like 6 aerial refuelers. You can see some of them here. And there was also an AWACS. So that's pretty interesting because, again, I couldn't see any other planes besides the refuelers. So there must have been some fighter jets or some airplanes in the North Sea that were operating with their transponders off, because you don't have 6 aerial refuelers doing loops in an area unless they're refueling something. Okay, so pretty concerning there. Obviously, they want to keep an eye on the North Sea. There's a lot of pipelines that go through the North Sea, and there's also a lot of critical military bases in the UK that are on the eastern side of the UK, close to the North Sea. There were also 2 sub hunters over Scotland patrolling the Scottish coastline this morning. Very interesting. And also, earlier this morning and late last night, we had a ton of NATO reconnaissance in the Baltic countries, in Poland, and also in Romania. Here you can see 2 reconnaissance planes in eastern Poland. One of them, a Joint Stars plane, which the Joint Stars planes can specifically detect ground targets. So tanks, convoys, armored vehicles, that's what they're made to detect. And so for them to be flying one of these in northeastern Poland means they're trying to see what kind of Russian and Belarusian forces are massing near Poland. And then also a Swedish reconnaissance plane was flying along the Polish-Belarus border. Italian reconnaissance plane patrolling the Baltics, and then a sub hunter along the Romanian Black Sea coast. So a lot of activity here. We also had a RQ-4 Global Hawk reconnaissance drone patrolling the Bulgarian coastline of the Bulgarian Black Sea coast, which is very interesting. I'm going to talk to you guys about Bulgaria in a minute here, but Bulgaria is now asking NATO for help because Russia is basically shutting down the Black Sea to any vessels now. And so Bulgaria wants protection from NATO because they're afraid their vessels are going to get taken out by Russian missiles. And Bulgaria is a NATO country. Okay. So we also have some breaking news. If you missed it the other day, 2 days ago, Ukraine destroyed a Russian submarine for the first time ever, and they also destroyed a Russian warship, and both of those were in a dry dock in Sevastopol, Crimea, and they used Storm Shadow missiles to destroy those subs, or to destroy the sub and the warship. Okay, so that's a huge victory for Ukraine and a huge embarrassment for Russia. And speaking of Russia, we currently have some kind of pipeline on fire in the Saratov region of Russia. You can see this huge fireball here and a ton of smoke coming out. Okay, this is again in the Saratov region of Russia. Why this fire is, how it started, I have no idea. Was it saboteurs? Probably. Okay, we've seen a lot of these fires and different types of sabotage activities in Russia, most likely the work of Ukrainian operatives. So, Ukraine is continuing to strike Russia behind enemy lines, with sabotage, with drone attacks, and they destroyed Russia's Kilo class submarine, the Rostov on Don, and they also destroyed a Rapucha-class warship. So huge news. This is the warship that was taken out. This is what it looked like before it was hit by the Ukrainian missiles. They were Storm Shadow missiles. Okay, those are the British missiles that were given to Ukraine, and this is what it looks like now. You can see just completely annihilated. Okay, completely annihilated. Um, obviously Russia is not going to be happy about this, and so we'll have to wait and see how Russia responds. But here's a before and after. Before the warships were hit, and then after, and you can see like this darker color here representing the charred areas, but both of these are completely destroyed. And if you guys didn't know, Vladimir Putin met with Kim Jong-un, and they spoke about a variety of things. The most important thing is that North Korea is going to be providing Russia with artillery. They're going to get 122 millimeter and 152 millimeter shells, as well as rockets for Grad systems. And this was stated by the head of Ukraine's intelligence, Kirilo Budanov. But Putin said at the meeting, this is coming from Putin's own mouth, the Russian Federation and North Korea strive to strengthen the bonds of partnership and good neighborliness and work for peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. Okay. So obviously for Putin, it's a wise idea for him to partner up with Kim Jong-un. And this is all coming out of the Bible, guys. Okay. The Bible says that the kings of the east are going to march towards Israel. They're going to have a 200 million man army, and really the only countries in the world that are capable of fielding a 200 million man army are the Asian countries and Russia, because they have the populations required for that. And Russia has all the equipment that's needed. They have all the tanks and the artillery and everything. And this is coming straight out of the Bible. Okay, the kings of the east, the book of Revelation, Ezekiel 38 and 39, the Gog and Magog war, where Russia invades Israel, or tries to invade Israel, with an alliance of nations. And the kings of the east are going to be part of that alliance. So what we're seeing here is the foundations being laid for that. Okay, so this is very concerning. We also have some breaking news that Lithuanian radio and television are blocking IP addresses from Russian channels and television programs. Okay, this is the Lithuanian Radio and Television Commission are now blocking Russian channels and TV programs in Lithuania. So that's huge news. There is a big Russian minority in Lithuania. We also have some breaking news that Italy is giving Poland F-35s. Here's a picture of some Italian F-35s and the pilots here with Polish pilots and NATO. That's huge. Okay, that is huge. Now, Poland ordered F-35s. They're still waiting for them. They ordered a few dozen of them. It's going to be a few years before they get them. So this is huge for there to be more F-35s put into Poland. We know that the Netherlands moved like half a dozen F-35s to northern Poland. NATO is gearing up, guys. NATO is gearing up for World War III. Okay. They moved 3 stealth bombers to Iceland a few weeks ago, and they did a ground refueling exercise in Norway with a stealth bomber. And they're going to be doing the largest ever NATO exercise in Europe since the Cold War in the springtime, next spring, 2024. Okay. That could possibly ignite World War III. Okay. If you remember in the 80s, there was Able Archer 83, which was a giant exercise that NATO did, and it almost sparked World War III because the Russians thought that it was, or the Soviets thought that it was actually a real invasion, that NATO was going to invade Eastern Europe and take back, the Warsaw Pact countries. But it was just an exercise, but Russia was gearing up and they thought that this was it, you know. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported that Ukrainian armed forces tried to attack a Black Sea Fleet patrol ship, the Sergei Kotov, using 5 unmanned boats. And here's a picture of that patrol ship. So the Ukrainians were trying to destroy it with those unmanned boats. And, it seems like the theme for the Ukrainians is to attack the Black Sea Fleet. They damaged the Kilo class sub, the Rapucha class warship. Now they're going after the patrol ship. So it seems like Ukraine is really focusing heavily on the Black Sea Fleet. And they also took out the air defense system. They took out an S-400. So the S-400 was in Crimea. So they're really focusing their efforts on Crimea now. Okay. We also have some breaking news that NATO and Bulgaria are working on building infrastructure in Bulgaria. Okay, this is coming from the Bulgarian Ministry of Defense. They're building infrastructure for the NATO battle group that's stationed in Bulgaria. But also, Bulgaria is requesting more protection from NATO. Okay, let me read this article to you. This is coming from MSN. Bulgaria is holding talks with NATO allies to formulate a response to Russian provocations in the Black Sea, particularly Moscow's blockade of Bulgaria's Black Sea Economic Zone, according to Euractiv. According to reports, Russia has declared a part of Bulgaria's Black Sea Economic Zone closed to navigation due to military exercises. Bulgarian Defense Minister Todor Tagarev has labeled these actions by Russia as provocations. Bulgaria is discussing a response to these provocations both independently and with our NATO allies, the minister said. Tagarev further stated that Bulgaria had not developed scenarios for a potential Russian attack on cargo ships traveling from Ukrainian ports through Bulgarian waters. However, he expressed confidence that such risks do not currently exist. Well, they're saying that the risks don't exist now, but look at Romania. They had 3 drones crash in their territory, and they didn't expect that. These waters are under the sovereignty of each coastal state and form part of the state territory. An attack in the territorial sea can be seen as an attack against the Republic of Bulgaria and NATO as a whole. All right, so huge news, guys. Okay, Bulgaria is now concerned. We also have breaking news coming from the European Parliament. They found the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, to be involved in the war against Ukraine, and they're calling on the International Criminal Court to issue an arrest warrant for him. Huge news there. One of Sweden's most respected newspapers writes that Ukrainian pilots and technicians have arrived in Sweden to train on the JAS-39 Gripen fighter jets. Ukraine is interested in acquiring 14 to 16 of the Swedish fighter jets. We also have some breaking news coming out of Syria. 2 Syrian soldiers were killed and 6 others wounded in an Israeli attack on the Syrian port city of Tartus. And this is also biblical, guys. The Bible says that Damascus will be destroyed in Isaiah chapter 27. We also have some breaking news coming from Armenia. Armenia has ratified the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Okay, so Armenia is further distancing themselves from Russia. And by ratifying this statute, it means that Putin cannot travel to Armenia anymore, because he would be arrested under the arrest warrant that's out for him by The Hague. Okay. Wanted to give you guys an update on Hurricane Lee. It looks like Hurricane Lee is going to make landfall somewhere near Maine and Nova Scotia as a tropical storm. We have tropical storm warnings for Cape Cod right now, and we're going to have a lot of impacts along the northeastern U.S. with wind, waves, and rain. So coastal areas will be affected. We also had a surprise G2 geomagnetic storm on Monday night, which sparked auroras as far south as Nebraska and Missouri. And here's a picture of one of those auroras from Nebraska. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's the latest information that I have. I'll keep you guys updated. Stay tuned to my channel for continuing updates. Make sure you hit the bell notification to be notified. And other than that, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.